For the most part it's down, but this would have been a soybean field. It's bare dirt. Water's just trickling across the road. Look at all the minnows right there. Got them all right there, between them two logs. So when I shine the camera around, it looks like, hey, we got green grass. This is awesome. You know, everything's growing right back. But here's what's not being taken into account. There are holes all in this field. It's about a good foot deeper right here where my foot is, as opposed to up here on this hill spot. I don't know if you can see my feet, but this one here is about 8 inches higher than this one here. I'm having a hard time demonstrating that. I know it looks green, and you think, wow, y'all are going to be able to just get right out there and cut hay. But this field has like ravines and sand deposits and sand dunes. The ground is actually like this everywhere. I don't think you could cut it. Your cutter would be in sand, and then other places it would be, you know, not even reaching grass. It's not like rolling hills. It's just like this. I mean, everything's just rippled. Nothing's level. It jars you all over the place just to ride across it in a four-wheeler. There's no way you could pull a cutter through this. This will all have to be disked and rolled out flat before it could be used for hay. Let's go down here. I want to take a picture of this big log stuck in the center pivot. There you can see, you know, I'm not tall, but that's clearly 10 foot off the ground, and that log's as bigger than I am, so the water had to be at least that deep. Then you have all this other debris that's washed in here, and then you got the big logs on the ground that have washed up, and there's several of them scattered around the field, and the field is just as rough as it can be. It's a little low spot, but it's never been barren, never been stripped of grass and left like little moon craters of water everywhere it bowl washed out. Of course, that was all pasture there, and it looks like the Utah sand dunes. Let's go take a look at it. Everything you see here, all this white sand, didn't exist a month ago. Every bit of this was green grass during the summer that cattle grazed on and that we cut for hay. Now it's just been deposits of massive amounts of white sand. Everything's buried under it. You can see the fence there. Behind us, there is no fence. It's completely gone. You see just a few spots right over in here of some green. That's all that exists of what used to be here. Now this was our pond here. This was a dug pond, and it used to be a little closer to me, and it didn't used to go all the way to that fence. So I don't know how deep it is. It looks like it's silted in quite a bit, but basically it's still holding water. It's just scooted to the east further than it was originally built. When you get down here, you can clearly see it's just it's like a desert of sand. Those trees are covered in sand. You look at that fence there. I don't know how well it's showing up. We'll get a little closer. That fence, some of those dunes are as tall as the fence. Okay, as you can see, that fence there is still standing, but the dune goes all the way to the top strand. Same here in front of me. That fence is partially laying down, but that sand dune's a good 4 foot tall where it's washed over the top of the fence. A lot of turtle tracks. There's a tree of some kind washed in right there, and where the river went around it, it left a sand dune that's probably 4 or 5 foot tall right there. Here's where you usually see me fishing a lot, down on the jetties where I catfish. There were some great big trees right here that are gone. There's one sycamore left. Used to be a couple more here. Some of the ones that were on upstream have washed over and laid down. A bunch are gone. That center pivot we were looking at, this is where it takes out of the river, and there's a float. Surprisingly enough, you can see the float still there. So we have an intake valve there and a float that keeps it off the bottom. Then we can hook a generator here and power the pump. All that looks like it's still in place, but none of the sand was here. And of course, the first animals back are coyotes, scavengers. These trees weren't laid down like this. These root balls you see out here, none of this was. Those trees have washed in. You can see that big tree there. That's from somewhere way upstream. This was all green grass. Cows, we graze cattle in here pretty regular. We didn't cut hay under these trees, but I mean, here I'm walking down in this low spot. And then when I walk up this, and you can see it's just a big giant mound. And then it's like that. I don't know how well it's picking it up, but there's another big mound of sand there, and you look on the other side, there's another ridge of sand. Way on down there, there's ridges of sand. And it's like that for as far as you want to look. I don't know what this is. Potassium, these sacks are everywhere, and they didn't come from us. So somebody upstream has a lot of feed grade potassium chloride. I don't even know what that is. Do you? Maybe like mineral? I don't know. Now that's a big pecan tree right there. Been here a long time. And look how that sand has mounded up all the way around it. It's probably 3 foot down in that hole. Look over here, there's a couple of hackberry trees. I mean, look down in that hole where those hackberries, that gives you some kind of idea how, I'm 5 foot above the base of those hackberry trees right there. And this is where the level is now, and that's how high it used to be. There's another fence that's now non-existent. I want you to notice that is a right here in the middle. That's T-post, and it ain't laying down. It's standing straight up. That would normally be about 4 foot tall, and there's about 1 foot of it sticking out of the ground. As you look over here, that little dot, well, there's one right there. There's about 1 inch of a T-post sticking out of the ground. That fence goes all the way to that tree and then turns the corner. There's nothing but sand. Look at that tree ball there. This fence here, as you can see, comes off the tree, and it is not laid down. It is upright. It is just sanded in. It's crazy. Look, I know I'm just letting the camera run a lot. I'm doing a lot of talking. I know the footage is shaky, but I'm trying to document what happened here. This is the highest flood we've ever had on record. It broke records that date back to the 40s or 30s. So I'm just trying to show what's here. If you're not interested in this, man, I understand, just skip the video. But I'm just trying to document so that we realize, and you know, if it ever happens again, we have some kind of idea of how to gauge how the river acts down here. I mean, it's not uncommon for this to get underwater, but never has it deposited sand like this. Never has it washed, you know, 50-year-old trees over. This is all uncharted territory. Okay, I'm on the west end of our property, and if you look over there on the tree line, we had pasture, the neighbors had woods. You can see our fence rolls right through there. It goes down and makes a corner, and that is the southwest corner of our property. It dog legs right back through here. You can see the corner post just right there. Then it turns and goes to the river. So this is about the normal height. That is the lowest point on the west end of the property. There's an old road bed that goes through here, and it's not uncommon to see it flood from time to time. So this is normal height of the ground. And we kind of have a couple little rolling mounds, and then it levels off. Just to give you an idea of how much sand has been put in here, there is a 10-foot bank of sand that starts right here. There's the corner of the property. There's the natural low spot. This is the lowest spot on the property. You see this sand that starts, and it just rises and rises and rises. That's a four-wheeler sitting on top, just for size reference, so you know what you're looking at, because it's hard to compare sand dunes. Okay, that's a Honda Rancher four-wheeler. Just so you realize the angle. It's hard to show on camera. That's probably a 10-foot tall sand dune. That never existed before. It's the first time. I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you fix that. If you notice here where I'm at, let me kick the ground a little for you. This is sandy dirt, but it's dirt. There's organic material in that. There always has been. There's always been a few sandy spots around here. You know, you may have a little patch where the grass don't grow real thick, but they were few and far between. What's been deposited here, as I walk up on the top of this first sand dune, I'm headed back to the four-wheeler. What's been deposited here is not the kind of soil that we had. It's just white powder sand. There's the four-wheeler. Look at this sand. Let me show you what my feet do to it. There is no organic material. That will grow, this will grow absolutely nothing. Every time you step in it, you sink. I'd venture to say there's 60 or 70 acres of grazable pasture here that might as well be a litter box for cats. Maybe we should start cat ranching. I think somebody did that in a movie once. All right, you get the point. There's enough sand here to fill every playground in America. Let me go make sure my wife hadn't been eaten by Jurassic cottonmouth. This is one of the weird things about a flood. All we have down there is sand, and then right here in just this one little area is just a pile of rocks and red clay balls. You go to mud, you go back to sand, you got the river here, but as you can see, the river comes right to us, and the original channel kicks out, and this just became a deposit of, I guess, everything off the bottom. Shells and rocks. And it's just a rocky gravel pile. And then when you look at all that, let me zoom in and show you. When you look at the timber that washed out, there were trees here, by the way, that are no longer here in this spot. All of those sacks are the potassium chloride sacks that are literally, I mean, there's got to be thousands of them. They're everywhere. I don't know where they came from. I don't know what they're used for. They all look like the tops were cut open, so maybe somebody had a rebate program and they were saving their box tops or their chloride sacks, buying playground equipment for cows. I don't know. This would be a good place to catfish, though. Look at that current. This would be a real good place to catfish if a fella had time. You could sit right here on a gravel bar, have a nice breeze. All right, we We just checking on the northwest end. Everything up here is fine. Just the fences are nasty, and I just want to try to return this to its rightful owner. During the flood, somebody lost a 1 tablespoon measuring spoon. It's a little bent, but it'll straighten right out. And if anybody lost one of these during the historic Arkansas flood, well, just contact me through YouTube, and we'll try to get it returned to the rightful owner.